Good morning. What's up, everybody? The credits were wanting to run on us a little early this morning. He popped the full room view, and the credits started rolling, so I'm not sure what was going on there. But we are not going away just yet. Welcome to a special Tuesday edition of the Going Broadway Podcast. Alex and Cole with you this morning. Cole, what's happening?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. And when I say we have way too much to talk about today, I mean we have way too much to talk about today.
And just so to drive the point home that we have a lot to talk about, we're skipping right past our off-the-top segment, and we're going straight to recaps this morning. So we're going to start with the insert adjective here. Granddaddy of them all, most stupendous WrestleMania ever. Call whatever you want. So we've got 3 events that we're going to recap. So let's do it like this. We'll talk about all the matches, and then we'll kind of give our overall grades at the end. There are too many matches to give individual match grades, but of course, we'll give our match of the night, or in the case of WrestleMania, well, with WrestleMania, let's do an overall match of the night for 1 and 2, and then we will give individual night grades and then an event grade as a whole. So before we get there, let's just see who we got on the chat this morning. Let's see, James, Jay Stoney, Brybrin, just a blanket good morning to everybody. Lumpy, our buddy Chris. Let's just jump right in. We got a lot to talk about. So I will say this. I won't spend too much time. I won't spend a ton of time talking about not match-related stories, items, whatever. I'm shocked that you've got 2 nights, 4 hours total of pre-show, but no matches on the pre-show either night.
We were talking about this. You and I hung out together Sunday night. We were talking about this Sunday night. 2-hour pre-shows both nights. There's no Ricochet on the card. There's no Finn Balor on the card. And those are your Intercontinental and United States Championship, title holders. I was mind blown that we didn't get just like one-off matches. Like, why couldn't Ricochet fight, Angel Garza or Humberto Carrillo on a pre-show, knowing he's going to retain? Why couldn't Finn Balor fight literally anybody that's on the roster?
And really, with either one of those two, there's tons of options you could throw out that even if they're going to retain, they could put on a good match. Who wants to see 2 hours of just random people talking, that half of which we don't even know who they are?
Right, Finn Balor could have came out and done a U.S. Open challenge and had R-Truth come out and do a 10-minute match. Yeah. Like, no big deal. Or or whoever you want it to be. Like, they could have done it. I thought that was shocking. And then there were matches that were on the card that I was like, we could have gave more time to some of these other matches and made this a pre-show match. If honestly, again, I'm mind blown that you have 2 of your main titles that aren't defended on the show at all. Mm-hmm. But regardless of that, even if you didn't want to do that, I get it. But
I don't.
The to each his own. If that's what they want to do, cool. But the Sheamus, match, with the New Day and all them could have been pre-show. Omos, Bobby Lashley could have been pre-show.
Yeah. Either way, so let's just tackle night 1. So, kind of a bummer intro, I guess. The Usos retain over Shinsuke and Rick Boogs. Rick Boogs gets the torn quad.
Requires surgery.
So it'll be minimum. I mean, absolute bare minimum. And this is if he works his tail off to try to get back. Minimum 6 to 7 months. Probably closer to a year. So kind of a bummer there. Obviously, the match went short. And just under 7 minutes. I read that this match was actually budgeted for 15. So literally cut in half, more than cut in half. I will say this. For what it was, it was an okay start to Mania. It would have been even better, though, had the injury not happened. I also read that the Usos were planned to retain anyway, so it wasn't like the finish was changed in terms of the winner. But overall, I was all right with it. Just a bummer to Rick Boogs, but you and I talked about this in terms of when Boogs comes back, hopefully he can get himself back over again. I don't think he'll have any problem doing it, but I think, as odd as this sounds, I think Pat McAfee is going to be, no pun intended, instrumental in getting Boogs back over, just because, standing on the announce table and doing air guitar and dancing and things like that during the entrance. And so I like Boogs. I really hope that they don't try to replace him while he's out, because I know that's part of Shinsuke's overall presentation and entrance.
Yeah, this is where it makes me nervous, because are you going to wait, are you going to have Shinsuke wait 6-7 months to have Boogs come back and continue where they left off? When he comes back, do you have him re-debut again with Shinsuke, or do you do his own thing? He doesn't even have his own theme music, honestly. So if you want him to continue to do what he does, you're gonna have to get him theme music that fits him playing the guitar on his way out, and there's all these things, and so it does make me a little nervous that the momentum is now going to be stopped. And even though fans probably would like him if he came back, how do you rebook him? Because Shinsuke is probably going to get pushed without him, and it won't make sense to re-debut him back with Shinsuke when he is back.
I mean, they could make it work. It could be a situation down the road, again, X amount of months from now, or however, whatever. We could even just say, let's say Shinsuke has a match at the Rumble next year, and they, kind of really give him a decent push to that point, whether it's a title picture or not. But could be a thing where he's, getting attacked, schmaz, whatever, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, whatever, and then Boogs comes back. I think even by that point, the crowd will know enough to where if they build it right, he could come back. The crowd would know who he is. He would still get the big pop, because fans always love to see a wrestler return from injury, regardless of who it is, especially if when they went out, if he or she was over with the fans. If it was somebody like, no disrespect intended, if it was someone like Brian Myers whenever he was with WWE, no one's going to care.
So, interesting thought. Brybren says he could still play Nakamura to the ring. Once he's recovered enough, he could debut back again as just more of a manager role.
That's true.
Not taking any spots, so he's not losing time on TV. And
that's very true. I don't know what that looks like, though, as far as how long does it take to recover in terms of just being able to walk after a surgery like that? I legitimately, I do not know. That's a legitimate question.
Probably, if we're thinking 6 months at the earliest, he probably could start doing physical therapy and moving at about 2 to 3 months, I would assume, give or take. No, again, he wouldn't be able to take any bumps. He wouldn't be able to run around the ring or get too excited. It would have to be pretty bare bones basic. But that's an interesting thought too that I wasn't thinking about, that he technically could stay in a managerial role. I mean, could you think about it? Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ricochet in the IC picture. That could be a pretty good feud and match, and
I'd be all right with it. You also have to factor in, and I say this coming from a musician standpoint. I play guitar. The guitar that I use is very heavy. It's just the type of guitar that I like. So I know that the ones he uses can have some weight to them. You have to factor that in as well as it relates to being able to walk. Not only that, walking down ramps, walking up ramps. There's so many things to factor in, but it is a good thing to consider as well, because we're just thinking in terms of, well, he has to be ring ready to come back. And like Brian said, that's not the case. So that's an excellent point. Next match, Drew McIntyre defeats Happy Corbin, 8.5 minutes. They had me for a split second whenever he hit End of Days, because no one's kicked out of it. Only because I would have thought they would have saved the first person to kick out of End of Days for something, bigger. I get this is WrestleMania, but let's face it. It's Happy Corbin and Drew McIntyre on the second match of the night.
Someone should have had a belt for that to be a thing.
I agree.
Honestly, If it's Happy Corbin with the IC or the United States belt, I can't say I see him in a main title belt role at any time soon, but it should have had a bigger field. This is a match that I hate to say because it has Drew McIntyre in it. That could have been pre-show.
Yeah.
It was not so entertaining to me that it should have had the time that it did on the card. I would have much rather have seen a IC or United States title match than this.
I will say this. If for whatever reason, if Happy Corbin in his current character, whether Moss is with him or not, he could be, doesn't have to be, whatever. If he still keeps the same character, but kind of is more of a face or tweener character, kind of like Santino was, still with a comedic side, but still, I mean, Corbin has really, 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 really improved in the ring in the last couple years. So I know that the hate that I had for him whenever we really first started this podcast is no longer there, because I mean he's proven himself in the ring. He's gotten a lot better. He has a character now, so that definitely helps.
His ring work was really never the problem. It was that the character, the story behind it, didn't bring the ring work to life.
I guess. I mean, I guess you can look at it that way. I even at that point I wasn't really a fan of him in the ring, but I mean he's gotten better, and whether it's the character behind it that helps, possibly. But in my mind, it's kind of a mental thing as well, knowing that he has so much support from everybody backstage, that he's like super receptive to advice, critiques, criticism, whatever, and always willing to improve, but also willing to help other people as well. That kind of factors into me thinking that keeping his current character now, but if he was more of a face tweener like that of Santino, I could see him being in a main card title picture, maybe not winning it, but it could also kind of be similar to the grassroots Daniel Bryan stuff from WrestleMania 30. I forgot which year that was. I mean, I guess subtract 8, so 20. What's the math on that? I'm blanking right now. 2016, I guess. So I don't know. You said, I just brought that up because you said you couldn't see him in a main card title picture. I don't know.
Not currently.
Well, no. As it stands now, no. They would have to do some adjustments, but
right.
Santino was trash. Like Cole said, to each their own. I disagree. I thought Santino was hilarious. Next match, Miz and Logan Paul defeat the Mysterios. A little over 11 minutes. We've not even talked about how the results related to our predictions, which I don't even remember much of our predictions, and who got what right,
I think we both got the Usos right. I think we both got Drew McIntyre right. This one, I think we might have been on opposite sides of this.
And I honestly don't remember who said which.
I think, for some reason, I think I said Mysterios, and you said...
I honestly, I don't remember.
I can't remember. There's so much wrestling, y'all.
Yeah.
I got to give the man his due.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Logan Paul did very, very well. Some are actually, I'm seeing posts, some are arguing that he looks better in the ring than Dominic does. Like
it's debatable.
He looked good. Now,
it's different styles, but nonetheless.
I only say this because I know there are people who are just 100% against the celebrity match, the bring a celebrity in and do a match type thing. But when you have guys like Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, who take the time to learn the moves that they need to learn and to do it in excellence, you got to give them their props. Bad Bunny did it last year. Logan Paul did it this year. Logan Paul came out. He did the moves that he was supposed to do. He executed them well. He looked believable in the ring. Again, he's got the kind of the boxing background, some of the amateur wrestling type background.
He's definitely more comfortable in the ring versus Bad Bunny, and especially any other celebrity that's had a match.
He looked good. It was a good match. Again, not the best match at all, but it was a good match. He was entertaining, and now I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out with Miz turning on him. I'm assuming we're gonna get that match at WrestleMania Backlash. But I'm kind of interested on how that all is gonna shake out.
And I will say this, at least as it relates to me personally, I can't speak for Cole, but for me to say that Logan Paul was good in this match really irks me because I'm by no means, I'm not a fan of Logan Paul. I'm not a fan of Jake Paul. I think they're both, I don't know, insert negative description. I think they're both punks. But Logan Paul showed that he's comfortable in the ring. And maybe that's a good way to put it. He looks more comfortable in the ring than Dominic Mysterio. Maybe not necessarily better. It could be, again.
It's the confidence, though.
Yeah.
He has that confidence. I mean, what, didn't he hit like a frog splash or something off the top rope?
And I even said, it's like, if he hits a frog splash, I'm going to be super ticked off. And of course he did. But he executed it really well. His form looked really good. Now, granted, I mean, there are highlights of him practicing it, but I saw people on social media that said, about his form and how he looked because, he practiced, rehearsed. Well,
isn't that what he should have done?
Exactly. What do you think they're supposed to do? They're just supposed to go in the ring first time and make themselves look like idiots. So
the goal is to make them look like they can actually wrestle.
Exactly. So that requires rehearsal. It requires
you think
practice.
Bad Bunny came in and hit a Panama Sunrise like first time, no problem? Like,
to be fair, that Panama Sunrise wasn't the best, but he still pulled it off.
Right.
Next match, Bianca defeats Becky Lynch to win the Raw Women's Championship. A little over 19 minutes.
Her eye.
Oh gosh.
I don't know if y'all saw her eye last night. She took the sunglasses off, and my goodness, that thing is bruised like no other. She's not putting the title down though, so obviously she's going to be healed up enough here in the next couple weeks to be able to continue. But this probably was the best women's match on either card.
Oh, I mean, yeah, and it's not even close. I would debate and say this might be the best women's WrestleMania match ever. Could be a bold statement. I'd have to go back and look at past WrestleMania cards because I know we've had good matches.
Sasha and Bianca would give it a run.
Yeah, I feel like this, though,
this had a more big fight feel to it.
The build was better, in my opinion. So I don't know. I'd have to go back. I mean, I might go back and see a match and totally eat my words just because I'm forgetting a particular match. And you guys that are watching can correct me if you have any other suggestions or any other input as far as past Mania women's matches. But, I mean, I know they had the triple threat with Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda, which was garbage. Or I wouldn't say garbage, but it was.
We've had a
great.
Becky Charlotte before though, and those were good. I don't remember them enough to be able to compare in the moment, but the reality is some of the best WrestleMania women's matches had these two women in it. So
yeah, it's the second time Bianca has been in a title match at Mania. She's won both of them. So I don't know, and this was debatably match of the night as well, depending on who you talk to. It's
I could put it up there in the top 3 of the night for sure.
Yeah. Next match, and I'm just, well, okay. Before I get too ahead of myself, Cody Rhodes making his return defeats Seth Rollins, just a hair under 22 minutes. All things factored in, when you consider that they probably didn't, they very, very, very likely did not have time to rehearse this match based on the fact that, Cody was pretty much hidden all weekend, including at WrestleMania itself. They kept him in a bus the whole time. Whenever they moved him from the bus to the gorilla position on the golf cart, they had him covered up. They likely did not rehearse this match or even talk about it. They probably just, called it in the ring, spot for spot, move for move. When all things considered, just a tremendous match. And I get the hate that people have for Cody. I shouldn't say I get it. I'll say that the skepticism, I understand. But all things considered, I thought it was a great match. I mean, in the presentation for Cody's entrance, just the spectacle of it, I mean, was on point.
Well, and let's break it down just from the right at the beginning. Seth Rollins, first off, kudos to him to be able to build such an entertaining storyline without having the other person on
By
TV.
himself.
He did it. And when he's out there and he's saying, don't make me wait, like that's increasing my, like, I don't know what to expect, because the other rumor was The Fiend. He was there for WrestleCon. You know, obviously they might have been able to work out some kind of deal. And so I was like, no, maybe it's him. And then people are like, well, could it be, you know, Taker? And I'm like, no, like, I just don't see that happening. And so I'm kind of going through my mind, is there anybody else? So, you know, I started thinking Johnny Gargano, or like, I'm like, who else could be the shock value person that would be just as shocking if it wasn't Cody Rhodes? So I'm sitting here like trying to do it all. And then the fireworks hit and the lights go out. And I'm like, is this The Fiend? Like when the lights went out, now I'm questioning.
Well, see, okay. The lead up to that, because they set the fireworks off, I'm just like, okay, I don't think that's The Fiend.
Right. It confused me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if it is, they're changing his entire entrance, new music, like everything's going to be different now. But when the lights went on, I'm like, what is going on right now? And then out of nowhere, when the doo-doo hit, I was like, that's not The Fiend.
And something I didn't think about, who said it? So Jeremy says, I'm surprised that they kept the word wrestling in Cody's entrance. That's a great point, because, I mean, they're really, WWE, I mean, even today is still, excuse me, very iffy about that term, about even using that word. I'm surprised they even kept that part of the entrance at all.
I loved it, though.
I did, too.
When the doo-doo hit, and then, you know, what does he say? Wrestling has more than one royal family, or
I would have taken it a step further. I would have done the whole, like, that pre-intro, I guess you want to call it, I can't do it.
I would have, I missed that part. But actually, just for the WrestleMania, I was thinking about this after I saw it. Just for the WrestleMania entrance, I thought it would have been cool to have, like, effects all over this, obviously, but have, like, he was a common man, and like all these, like, different, like, sound bits and stuff from Dusty, like, going off and stuff.
Been cool.
But, like, with, like, robotic voices and, like, slowing and speeding them up and, like, different things going on, and then have it go doo-doo one more time. And then it said there's more than one royal family. Have his music hit. Either way, it was still cool. When he came out, I loved the below shot looking up at Cody.
Yeah, the entire presentation they kept from AEW, which I'm totally on board with. I mean, if they're going to bring him in, I think this was McMahon's comment to Cody, that Cody said during an interview, basically, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. And they, to their credit, they kept everything like they had it. I mean, presentation, production, theme music, gear, everything.
What I loved about this, and I told you this as well when we were hanging out, this was like one of those moments that takes you back to like the WCW, WWE days where like you never thought you'd see this person back on this company or this television program or whatever, and then out of nowhere his music hits, and he's literally the same person that he was on this other show. Like, there was no gimmick change, there was no music change, it's kind of like how when CM Punk came to AEW, there was no gimmick change, there was nothing different. It's all the same, and you get all of that with it. And so I was mind blown. There was a part of me that's like, there's just no way Cody's coming back here. But when he came out, I was like, they're doing this. And so,
I legit had goosebumps. I mean, it was you could argue that in terms of in the history of wrestling as it relates to, I guess, surreal moments, you might be able to put this in the top 3.
This was a big moment. Now, I know the debate that's out there right now was his pop bigger than CM Punk's pop? I don't think you can compare them. I don't think they're a fair comparison. CM Punk had been gone for over a decade, I think.
Yeah.
It was hometown Chicago, and the crowd sizes are drastically different. So,
not just that. I mean, in terms of you have to be able. The only way you can be a accurate judge or whatever, I mean, that's not even the right word, is if you were at every single event live, because the presentation as it comes across on TV is entirely different, because you're going to have a louder sound for these smaller venues, even if it's 2,000 or 3,000 people, hence the Supercard of Honor show, which we'll get to. Some of the reactions sounded louder on that than they did for Mania, and that's just because of, for bigger venues, especially if they're like open air or outdoor or whatever, it's not going to reverberate as much. It's just a sound thing. It has nothing to do with, oh, the crowd was dead for this or that. It's just a matter of what's the term I'm looking for? Acoustics or whatever. I mean, it's unless you're at every single one, and even then, you have to factor in crowd sizes. I mean, obviously, 70,000, 80,000 is probably going to sound louder than 7,000 or 8,000. But as it relates to crowd noise or crowd reaction, I would debate, and I told you this when we were watching Sunday, I would debate that Cody got just as loud of a reaction as Steve Austin did on night one. Now, I'm sure it was by design, but Steve Austin's reaction sounded louder on Peacock, right. But there's obviously things you can do to boost and reduce crowd reaction or crowd noise at a show. And if you go back, and I told Cole this Sunday night, if you go back and watch Cody's entrance, there's 3 different parts where the crowd just increasingly got louder. So it was at the point where they hit the drum, the dun-dun, and then Cody's Soundbite Wrestling has more than one royal family, got louder at that point, and then it got even louder once the music hit. But you can't, it sounds like it is not muffled. It just the sounds as if it's reduced.
Though.
Yeah, compressed. And so obviously they didn't want to do that with Austin's entrance. Again, by design, I totally understand. It's Texas. You want him to sound like he's got the biggest reaction. But at the same time, I'm just basing my take on the fact, if you go watch YouTube videos and compare, the live reaction to, like, if you go to one person's YouTube channel, they'll have, tons of entrance videos and such. And so if you go and watch 3 or 4 different ones, 3 or 4 different channels where they've got each and every person's entrance or whatever, Cody's is just as loud as Austin's is. So take that for what it's worth.
I loved this match, though. It was great. It was exciting. It was good. His promo last night was great as well. I'm excited to see what they're doing with him. I love the Stardust tribute that he did during his match, and he also paid tribute to it last night during his promo. And so I love that he's not running from his past. I love that he's not trying to act like Stardust never happened. I love that he's not trying to act like he wasn't ever there before or any of that. I love that he is running with a storyline and a mindset of, I came back here to get the big one. I came back here. And all the debates, well, there's no Cody Rhodes without AEW, or there's no Cody Rhodes without this. Cody Rhodes made Cody Rhodes. All right? Like,
Cody was Cody after WWE, pre-AEW. Cody was Cody based on, doing his own thing on the indies, like Ring of Honor, New Japan. Like, Cody made Cody. He was already Cody now before AEW.
There are guys who they left WWE to prove I am what WWE wants. They just don't see it because I wasn't given the right way to show myself. Drew McIntyre. There is no Drew McIntyre that we have now without him leaving, being fired from WWE, and going out in the indies and saying, look, I'm Drew Galloway, and I'm proving to you what I can do. And Bobby Lashley. We don't get the Bobby Lashley, the almighty, and all this grand champion that we saw without him going out, running the indie scenes, doing the Impact stuff, and coming back. Like, there are guys that have to go and show what their worth is beyond WWE's sometimes lackluster story writing and story building. Cody Rhodes went and did that. I love that he said in the Variety interview that he did, I'm so thankful to be a part of history with starting an alternative company that will always be important to me. He's not bashing AEW. He's not dissing them. He said, I'm never going to speak on why I didn't resign. It's nothing that you guys think it is, though. And so I love that he said this is an easy decision. I wanted to come back to the company and prove that I am the best wrestler in the world. I wanted to come back and prove that I am what I say I am. And I love that because I think he's going to do it. I think this year is going to be the year of Cody. You're going to see him get a lot of accomplishments, very similar to a push of AJ Styles when he first came in. I think they're going to make sure that he gets the accolades that he wants to get. Because at the end of the day, that Rhodes name is important to WWE.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's important that we reestablish relationship with Cody. They'll reestablish a relationship with Dusty or with Dustin. Sorry. You'll see Goldust in the Hall of Fame one day. That name is too important to them.
And real quick, this is the only thing. This is the only time I'm going to address this, at least for now. Likely for time, I don't know. We'll be able to talk on it too much. But we mentioned before the show, I'm addressing Jeremy's comment. Just the reactions on Raw didn't sound as loud. I've not watched all of it, but the Raw crowd seemed super dead for a post-WrestleMania, but it really has the last few years. And I told Cole before we went on, I think the Raw after WrestleMania is slowly but surely becoming less of a thing. I think It's just going to be, especially given, if WrestleMania weekend is just jam-packed with event after event after event after event, signing after signing after signing after signing, by Monday, your Raw crowd is going to be exhausted. Because I'd venture to guess at least 15-20% of the people that are at Raw did more than just Raw Monday night. They probably went to at least one or two other things. Maybe they went to both nights of Mania.
Let's talk about it. There was like 15 different events that happened, wrestling-related, WrestleCons, Supercard of Honor.
Oh, there's more than that. Like, there's a website that legit had an entire schedule of every single show that was in Dallas from Thursday to yesterday.
Our friends Glory Pro were there.
Yeah.
Supercard of Honor, Multiverse for Impact, Bloodsport, GCW. Who knows what other indie scene stuff that was out there. WrestleCon's going on.
GCW themselves had multiple events.
Right. Like, they had so much going on in Dallas. I would be drained.
And a lot of these obviously went on simultaneously, so you're not going to be able to attend all of them. But I'm scrolling right now. Bloodsport was there.
Even if you just do just the WWE experience for that weekend, you have NXT, SmackDown, the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2, pre-shows, Access. They have the signings and all the different stuff that's there too. Like, there's so much going on. Not to mention, you may go sightsee in Dallas. One of the reasons why they go to these cities is so they can increase the revenue of that city too. So it's, who knows where else people were going and doing and all that stuff.
I'm literally still scrolling. I've been scrolling this entire time. Impact, which we might address, WrestleCon itself. We mentioned GCW, Joey Janela, Spring Break deal. Control Your Narrative was there. MLW was there. Mission Pro, which is Thunder Rosa's company, was there.
How many venues are in Dallas?
Enough. Probably I'd say there's at least 50.
It's insane.
Yeah. So by Monday night,
you're tired.
You're
done.
Even if you just went to night 1 and night 2 of Mania and that was it, I would be dead at that point.
Especially if you traveled there too, because then you're also putting in travel time.
Yeah.
And staying up late. Man.
So
a lot.
Anyway, yeah, I think I would say probably by WrestleMania 40. Bold prediction, by WrestleMania 40, the Raw after Mania is probably going to become not even a mention or a thing anymore.
Well, not to mention, when you're cutting everybody, debuts and returns are not as big of a deal for WWE anymore because they're not signing everybody and their mom anymore. Like, it's the complete opposite. They're being very strategic now about who's going to be on their television program.
I would have saved, if you're wanting to do like big, if you're really wanting it to be the Raw after Mania, you need to save big stuff like, Damian Priest aligning with Edge, which we'll get to. stuff like that. If you're not doing debuts, you need to initiate big storylines.
Now, Raw last night, one thing I did like, Braun Breaker winning the NXT Championship on Raw. I love that. You got eyes on Braun Breaker again because you saw him at the Hall of Fame speech. So if you're not an NXT watcher, you got to see, oh, this kid can go. And you had him win the belt on Raw. So it's a bigger feel. I did like that. It's intriguing to me because I thought they weren't going to let him win it so they could call him up. Now I'm kind of like, oh, you're about to continue to have him on NXT. Okay, cool. So just there were things they did last night that had a bigger feel. Cody coming out, opening up the show, I felt like was a good call.
Yeah.
Braun Breaker winning the belt, thought it was a good call. The tease of Rhea Ripley turning, and obviously we've heard the rumors of her joining the Edge stable too.
And we'll get there as well. So it's about 20 till 10 already. We need to kick this a little bit more into gear. So Charlotte defeats Ronda, retains the SmackDown Women's Championship, 18.5 minutes. Surprised by the result. Neither of us got this one right.
I did.
You did say Charlotte?
I said Charlotte would retain.
I stand corrected then.
Yep. Because I said, I know they said Ronda was going to be around for a while, but I don't see them letting Charlotte lose at Mania. And I mean...
Now, I will say this. So, as far as the match itself, I was actually disappointed with the match. Looked rough in different spots. It was slow. Communication it was just off. The match wasn't. I didn't think the match was good. The rumor was that Ronda was upset backstage because she wasn't the main event of WrestleMania. There was a secondary rumor that she actually left the venue entirely. I don't think that was true, but allegedly Bryan Alvarez had talked to Ronda Rousey's camp or some of her friends or whatever, and that she was legit upset that she was not the main event of WrestleMania, even though at one point that was advertised as the main event, was it not?
Yeah, that's where I got shocked, and I stand corrected because I was in some Facebook groups that were like, oh yeah, Stone Cold and KO show and all that stuff's gonna main event Mania, and I was like, no, they've already announced on live television programming that it was going to be Charlotte Flair and Ronda headlining night 1. It was going to be Roman and Brock headlining night 2. So I was shocked that they didn't run with this match being the headliner, but obviously they probably didn't know Stone Cold was going to be cleared to actually wrestle.
Yeah, that makes me wonder if something at the 11th hour, so to speak, was agreed upon that they would do an actual match, and then there's like, okay, well, this has to go on last if Austin's having a match.
They started announcing like not the Monday before Mania, but the 2 weeks out.
Yeah,
that KO and Stone Cold were going to headline at that point. So it wasn't like it was brand new knowledge to her.
Well, so I'm getting there. The 11th hour for us as fans, but supposedly everything was pretty much finalized, in the works, set in stone, whatever, as far back as January. So, I mean, again, it depends on who your source is, who you listen to, who you think's reliable. But either way, WWE got their info crossed or whatever, and so inevitably they didn't go on last. I'm glad they didn't go on last because that would have meant both main events were not great. So, speaking of main events, Stone Cold Steve Austin makes his return to the ring, hopefully for just a one-night thing. I hope this was it. Defeating Kevin Owens, a little under 14 minutes, in a no-holds-barred match. So at first I thought this was just going to be a lot of like punches and kicks and whatever, couple of stunners, then we're done. But when they took it to the outside and then Stone Cold's taking some shots to the back from like the sign holder, taking a suplex on the concrete, I'm like, okay, I don't think this is necessary, but okay. But I wanted to get to that because you shared your thoughts with me Sunday night as well.
I was nervous the entire match. Again, nostalgia reasons. Everyone loves Stone Cold. I don't think there's anybody that's like, man, Stone Cold sucks. Everyone loves Stone Cold. He's usually arguably in everyone's Mount Rushmore, or people argue for him being in someone's Mount Rushmore. when he came out, I really did think it was just going to be a KO show type segment where he would trash talk KO, he'd embarrass him, KO would try to attack him, he'd stunner him a couple times, drink some beer, and go home.
He went through a lot of wasted beer.
When KO said, "No, I got you here to have a match," I was like, surely they're not about to do this. Then when he said no holds barred, I was like, oh, this is actually to protect Stone Cold.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
There's no countouts, there's no nothing. Use weapons, like it'll work out better. So when they started going, I was entertained with throughout the match calling for beer and kind of like a good old country afternoon on the ranch, just drinking some beer and doing some work. Like it's like he got a beer, drank some, went back to work. And so I was kind of cracking up at those things. But when he took a pretty stiff shot being thrown into the turnbuckle out on the outside, the ring post.
Yeah.
I thought, man, Austin, like your neck, dude. Like,
yeah,
you've proven, dude. You're one of the greatest of all time. Your career probably ended shorter than what people would have liked, but you've proven you're one of the greatest of all time. You have nothing to prove. There's no reason for you to take these shots. So I was like, okay, that's all. That's the extent of what you're gonna take. When he took the suplex on the cement, I'm like, dude, this payday cannot be worth like your overall health. Like that looked rough. It was a stiff drop, but he looks like he's fine. I mean, he came out night 2 again. So, but
yeah, I want to address something real quick, and this is something I thought about. Jeremy says it was Steve trusting KO to keep him safe. 100%. If Austin's going to have a match with anybody,
one of the best people to choose.
Yeah, 100%. But inevitably,
driving him up on the 4-wheeler was funny.
Oh my gosh, that was great. I was entertained by
the Byron Saxton stunner. He's one of the best to ever sell it, I think.
Credit to Byron Saxton for. I mean, he made that stunner look like $1 million. Okay, so night 1, overall grade. Well, give me your match of the night and then your overall grade.
I'm gonna say match of the night based off wrestling is Cody and Seth.
Okay.
As far as biggest moment of the night, it's going to be Stone Cold and KO.
I think
it depends on how you're looking at it. So best match of the night, I was battling back and forth between Seth and Cody and Bianca and Becky. But I think Cody and Seth kind of take it there. Biggest moment of the night, I'm going Stone Cold and KO.
Which I would agree with both of those takes as well. Okay, so overall match or overall grade for the night.
This is, I know we'll get to the other night and overall grade it all together. This, to me, people might disagree. This was an A+ night for me, honestly. That's fair. This is one of the best parts of WrestleMania, like overall card. Now, I would argue we could have balanced these cards a little bit better. They probably wouldn't have been A+ nights.
Yeah.
But they probably would have been more like A-, B+ nights both nights.
Let's put it this way. If you're going to keep the cards exactly as they were, now I know they had to do some shuffling with New Day and whatnot, but I mean, that match ended up being
5 minutes, maybe?
No. 1:40.
Oh, yeah.
1:40 seconds.
Their entrances were
You're
long.
telling me that you couldn't squeeze that into night 1. Anyway, if they're going to keep the cards exactly as they were, I've completely reversed them, but then still did something to where you're obviously going to have your unification match on night 2, do some minor shuffling, but for the most part, do everything the exact opposite. So your night 1 was your night 2, and then that was like your
build up to the bigger night, to the finale. But I'm definitely on the side of A+ is just me. I know a lot of people would disagree that they'd probably be more in like the B+, A- area, but
A- is where I'm going to.
It was one of the best WrestleMania nights, I should say, because we're doing the 2-night thing.
Yeah.
One of the better WrestleManias we've had in the past few years.
Agreed. Even pre-COVID, WrestleManias weren't what they used to be, for lack of a better way of wording it. Night 1 WrestleMania this year was the best night of WrestleMania we've had in probably, I'd say at least 5 years.
I was going to say 5 to 7.
So
somewhere in there.
But yeah, I would agree with everything else. Cody and Seth got my match of the night, especially factoring in, again, they probably didn't get to talk about, much less rehearse any of the spots ahead of time. The match was phenomenal. The presentation, the production was amazing. And I'm going A-. I'm hard pressed to not go A on it. I'm only not just because of the injury to Boogs, and then just the overall Mania itself. Night one seemed to start off a little slow.
Yeah, but I actually liked that. After watching night two, I was like, I'm so thankful you got these two matches out of the way so we could get to the actual bigger storylines. And again, I'm rating my ranking, my letter grade off of what WWE's trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
This wouldn't have cut it for AEW. This wouldn't have cut it for a lot of promotions. But for what they're trying to do with WrestleMania and their product, I thought they nailed it on the head night one.
I thought it was very good. So night two, the opener, RK Bro retains over Street Profits and Alpha Academy at 11.5 minutes.
This match should have been deeper in the card.
Agreed. This
deeper.
This arguably could have been match of the night for
one
some
of the
people.
better matches for night two.
We saw Gable Steveson get involved at the end.
Looks like his debut might be coming pretty
imminent.
soon. Looked decent.
Yeah. We're going to go through this card a little bit quicker.
We can.
Frankly, there's not as much to talk about. Second match, Lashley defeats Omos, gives Omos his first loss, 6.5 minutes.
This could have been pre-show or not at all. Like I'm more of the not at all camp. I know they're building a storyline out of it, with MVP turning on Lashley last night, and now is Omos's.
They should have done this before this match, like a month ago.
Go ahead and turn MVP on him.
And then this would be your payoff, and then just be done with it.
Which I thought Bobby was hurt. I didn't even know that he was going to heal that quick. So maybe that's why they held off, and that was the initial plan.
I don't know, but man, Omos is dangerous. That spot in the corner where he held him up too high, and then Bobby's head
smacked the back ring post.
Whiplash back into the post. At first, I thought he didn't hit it, especially since they did a replay the first time, and then they do that thing where it's slow, and then they speed it up at the end. So I was like, oh, he didn't really hit his head. But then they did the replay a second time. Did slow the entire way. He cracked the back of his head on the top of that.
It was a sloppy match. I was of the mindset this match did not need to happen.
Agreed. The next match, Johnny Knoxville gets the win over Sami Zayn. This match went about 14.5 minutes. I was actually entertained by this match.
One of the best comedic matches.
I thought it was great.
In a long time. I'm going to say the best ever. But very, very funny comedic match. Wee Man coming out and body slamming.
Replicating the Hogan-Andre slam.
Sami Zayn was hilarious. The different props. The only negative of this match is the props were not working.
Yeah.
A lot of the props, they were struggling to get them to work. And I don't know if that's on Johnny Knoxville's team. I'm not going to say their name on air.
His team.
his team. If it was their designs that weren't working, or if they sent designs to WWE saying, hey, can you make sure we have this stuff?
Can you make us a giant mousetrap?
Can you get us a big Mark Henry hand that, they're saying it's like Mark Henry and Mae Young's child or whatever. And Mark Henry tweeted it or something like that. All I do is.
Yeah. That hand spot though was hilarious because I've seen some of the highlights from the other movies. And that's one of my favorite spots where they get someone to come into a room and then the hand whacks him.
It
was great.
The whole thing was funny. It was good. Sami Zayn, props to him. Did a great job with this whole storyline.
You could tell too. Obviously he's staying kayfabe, but you could tell he was having fun too. Maybe not at the spot where he got slammed into a table of mousetraps, but besides that.
I don't want to see any more tasers though, okay, y'all? Because the fake taser thing they did earlier in their storyline was stupid, and then this one, him covering up the taser and then just turning it on, I was like, you aren't fooling nobody.
Next match we won't really talk about because actually Cole and I this was our
go get ice cream match.
Yeah. We have an ice cream shop down the road from my house, and so
we had it on in the background. We saw the result, we saw the ending, but we were not very invested.
Yeah,
to say in this match.
Naomi and Sasha Banks win the women's tag team championship, just a hair under 11 minutes.
I will say I like their tag team finisher.
That was
their finisher is pretty cool.
The next match, Edge defeats AJ Styles.
We got to talk about
24 minutes. Yeah, AJ's entrance.
Our scare. So when he comes out, he has a little gash on the side of his face.
Oh,
and it's deep.
I was saying, it was.
But it's only about about this
It
big.
was little in size, but you could tell there was an indent.
But it was deep. And so I'm looking at Alex. I was like, did he get attacked by a fan backstage? There was a backstage scuffle? Alex is like, maybe it was pyro, but he's going back and watching the entrance and like, nah, he had it on his face before the pyro ever hit.
Yeah.
And then, I think it was Sean Ross Sapp was saying.
Well, it was
pyro or was it Brian Alvarez?
Well, so let's see. I'm trying to think in sequential order. So we saw it. It's on my TV, but then I pulled up my phone because I've got the Peacock app on my phone. So as it's playing live, I'm going back and watching it on my phone. And I'm like, no. I showed Cole. It's like you can tell the wound is there before the pyro even goes off.
And it's fresh.
Yeah. So then Brian Alvarez tweets. He was told it was pyro related. That was the story. And I'm just like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. And then
after the match is when
I think it was actually during the match. I think I want to say it was Wrestling Inc. got a video from a fan where he's coming out and he whacks his face on the set design as he's walking through the curtain, and I mean just his head just whiplashes back.
It's the edge of something, so it looks like it could have been sharp.
It is the sharp corner of.
If you were to really smack yourself on it, it's going to cut open.
Yeah.
So. Luckily, it wasn't something major.
But you could tell he was ticked off coming out.
But he was definitely mad that he had that happen.
Now, as far as the match itself, I mean, just wow. I mean, this was a wrestling clinic.
It reminded me because I had a few people in our chat group saying it started off slow. It kind of reminded me of the Randy Orton Edge matches. They definitely started off trying to build a storyline of tit for tat kind of stuff. I really enjoyed this match, and I hope that they do a rematch at WrestleMania Backlash. Like, obviously, AJ came out last night and attacked him, so it looks like we're going to get that. I'm hoping for another match. This was really good.
Yeah, 100%. And I do actually. So this was, I think, Sean Ross Sapp or Fightful reported that they were going to have Edge be leader of like a brood-ish group, and then we saw that Sunday night as well with Damian Priest coming out, aligning with Edge. The rumored names, because Cole and I talked about this Sunday night, as far as this group needs more people. The rumored names were Rhea Ripley, which kind of fits, but then the other rumored name is Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know how they make that work
without destroying who he is.
Yeah,
that's my other thing. Is I want Ciampa to move up, and obviously he is. They did the whole Stand and Deliver retirement thing.
Yeah,
or retirement thing.
Send off. Yeah.
Send off. I don't know if he fits this group without damaging who he is too much. So
I would rather him just be on SmackDown.
I think him being in the IC United States picture is a great fit for him right now to kind of build himself up.
I agree.
Money
right
in the
away.
Bank type spot, would be cool. I don't know if he's a fit. And I know they said there's other NXT names that they were looking at too. I'm kind of more of that mindset. Like, is there somebody else on NXT? Like Dexter Lumis might be a better fit to bring up and get away from the comedic stuff and have more of a serious look and a scary look, and you could do a little bit more with him without anybody being as.
I would have rather seen them repackage Elias in this group than do the crap that they did with him last night.
Yeah, well, that's not Elias. That's Ezekiel. Okay. That's Elias's brother.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I stand corrected. My apologies.
But yeah, I think there's other names outside of Ciampa, but Ciampa makes sense as far as big name value, wanting to call up.
I'll give you a name. This just came to me. Alexa Bliss.
That was interesting. I'll give you another name that just came to me because of the comparisons that have been made backstage. Von Wagner.
Okay.
Von Wagner, they said he's like, they see an Edge in him. Why not pair him with Edge? Give him that deep, dark look. Or what's the other guy that's with Joe Gacy?
Harland.
Harland.
Yeah.
That's your big muscle. So there are guys that I think would have been scarier, would have made more sense. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Agreed. Next match, Minute 40, Sheamus and Ridge defeat the New Day. Moving along.
Could have been off the card or pre-show.
Next match, Pat McAfee defeats Austin Theory, 9 minutes and 40 seconds. They should have just done this, and then, I don't want to say left it alone, but okay, so I'll package these two together.
Yep.
Then Mr. McMahon has an impromptu match, defeats Pat McAfee in a literal squash match in about 3.5 minutes. You could have done the whole thing where they had Steve Austin come back out and not had this match. It makes zero sense to have this match. You could have just had a beatdown at the end, which is what it looked like it was going to be until they called for a ref and had him ring the bell. I'm like, what are you doing? Why?
So let's address this from the top. First off, Pat McAfee, I wish he wrestled more.
Agreed.
He is entertaining to watch in the ring. I also love him on commentary, so you get what you get. I don't really want to lose him for the other, but he put on a great match. The problem I have with this whole setup, you have Pat McAfee beat Austin Theory, who you're telling everybody is going to be your next big draw at some point. I'm okay with that until you have, what is he, 78, Vince? How old is he? He's got to be in his late 70s.
Let's just take a look at the Google machine.
Give me his age real quick so I can really make my point.
Vinnie Mac is 76.
So 76-year-old Vince McMahon comes in the ring, takes off his shirt and everything. Yeah, he's got a little bit of muscle, but you can tell he looks old. The clotheslines that Vince McMahon hit on Pat McAfee looked like a 3-year-old toddler trying to clothesline me.
They were awful.
They looked terrible. They were terrible sells. Pat McAfee literally got no offense in this match at all. There was not a swing, a hit, or nothing landed on Vince. You make Austin Theory look weak by doing this.
Yeah.
Because now the guy that just got beat by a ring announcer that we're supposed to believe never had a match, Pat McAfee, even though we know he's had 2 NXT matches, we're now supposed to believe that your star pupil couldn't beat him, but 76-year-old Vince McMahon, who hasn't been in a ring in God knows how long, can come in and squash match Pat McAfee. I was, for lack of a better word, stunned by this whole thing. The match did not need to happen. The way they should have booked this was, if you wanted to have the Vince Stone Cold stare down nostalgic moment, have Vince interfere in this match and get involved with the Theory McAfee match.
Yeah.
Or afterwards have him get in and just beat up with Austin Theory on McAfee. That would have been fine with me. Having him a match really ruined the moment, but what ruins the moment even more, and y'all need to go watch Mick Foley's reaction to this because it's hilarious. Stone Cold comes out, hits the stunner on Austin Theory. Kudos to him. He sold that thing. That boy looked like he was free falling. He sold a really great stunner. Vince McMahon and him, have a beer for old time's sake. Stone Cold goes at the stunner on him, and Vince is like falling down, like cannot stand. I almost thought he tore his quads again. Like I'm sitting here mind blown.
He thought he was dead.
I literally once he fell, he looked motionless. I thought, does this guy just have a heart attack?
He even said, "Is Vince dead?"
Like he literally got barely kicked. Let's just be real, barely kicked. And then when he goes to do the stunner, he's falling down in the ring. Stone Cold's trying to grab him and still can't get his hands on him. It's like 5-6 seconds after the kick, still can't get his hands on him. And then when he finally does, Vince just falls.
He literally just collapses.
He couldn't even go down with them because Vince just falls down. And then he's laying there, and I look at Alex, it's like, dude, is he dead?
Well, I mean, and to be fair, Vince sold the stunner like he always does, like motionless in the ring, but his eyes are wide open.
He didn't move at all. I'm like, this guy just had a heart attack. Like, this guy's dead in the ring. And finally, then his arm moved once. He's like, nope, he's alive. He's good.
Not to be morbid, but how weird would that be for Vince McMahon for that something like that to happen during a WrestleMania
with Stone Cold?
Of
all people. But it was a terrible spot.
It was bad.
Pat McAfee, though, selling his stunner, spitting the beer out, and then on the side of the ring.
And then they cut to him later. Actually, he's on the floor at this point. He's like,
his tweet or whatever he posted. he goes, win or lose, it's always booze or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like drinking it while he's sitting there. Oh, that was all great. The only thing that needed to be removed from that segment, and this is my thing, Vince McMahon, you can no longer get mad at anybody else botching when you botched so many things in that little segment that you decided to have.
Did you mention the theme music botch? Like whenever Austin Theory's music hit, he thought that was Stone Cold's music.
They were waiting for Stone Cold's music to hit, and when Austin Theory's music hit, Vince goes.
He jumped. He jumps.
And then goes back to celebrate, and I'm like, nah, bro, you are botching way too much. Don't you ever complain about someone else's botches if you can't come in the ring and do it yourself.
All right. Lastly, we've been recapping this for an hour.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. We just gotta move along here. Last match: Roman Reigns defeats Brock Lesnar to become I guess they're calling it the undisputed Universal Champion in a match that went only 12 minutes, a little over 12 minutes. I'm sure they cut it for time because of supposed injuries, whether it's to Roman's shoulder, whether it's to Brock's ribs.
Did you see the pictures of Roman's shoulder?
Oh yeah,
it's not a supposed. He popped that thing out.
He did something. But yeah, Roman's injury was not alleged. That was definite. Brock was really selling those ribs if he wasn't injured,
which he does not usually do.
Yeah, he doesn't. He is
not a seller.
He doesn't sell a specific body part
the entire match.
Yeah. I mean, granted, the match was cut for obvious reasons, but I'm trying to judge this in terms of my realistic expectation. Now, I'm throwing out the window any rumor or thought that I had that Rock might come out or somebody might come out at the end or whatever. I'm putting that aside. But even that aside, this was a super underwhelming match, a super underwhelming main event, especially since it was built they built it really well. They even, booked it as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, blah, blah, blah. And so for what we saw to be the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, I was disappointed.
I'm curious of what the ending was supposed to be, because I told you I felt like it ended abruptly.
It was very abrupt.
Because after the Kimura, obviously Roman's shoulder was out from that. Which makes me think, man, is Brock really locking this thing in on everybody, like, legitimately? Because Triple H also had that same thing happen to him too.
Yeah.
When it all went down. So, when that went out, I was like, okay, they're gonna have to end this. So that spear that just ends it, I was like, that was very anticlimactic. There was no big ending. And so I'm curious to know what the finish was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because it felt like there was like 15 minutes left of airtime that they just cut completely out at that point. So,
and they literally, I keep wanting to call it the network. Peacock went straight to the next, WWE related programming. It wasn't like, the stream is now ended and it would just say black for 15 minutes. I mean, the card literally ended 15 minutes early and then they just went right on to the next thing.
That's what sucks, is that I feel like it had a bigger ending, it had a bigger spot, it had a bigger storyline to it that we're never gonna know exactly what it was meant to be.
Yeah. Before we jump to our next recap,
we gotta grade this.
Oh yeah, sorry. Before we give our overall grades, just a little bit of cool breaking news. Glory Pro Wrestling has shared their first promotional graphic, whatever you want to call it, of their this is really going to be the biggest indie show in St. Louis history, because they're going to be at the pageant on April 24th. And I'll just kind of let the cat out of the bag. We will be there. Once again, we will do a live pre-show before the event. And we'll put together a promo graphic for you to see in the next week or so. But Sunday, April 24th, Glory Pro Wrestling is having a show at the pageant, which is, super big venue. I mean, fairly well-known bands play at this venue. So I expect that they'll have 3,000-4,000 at least.
And anybody and everybody they can get as far as name.
Speaking of that, we are proud to sponsor one of the headlining matches of this event, which is Jake Something versus new Ring of Honor television champion Minoru Suzuki. So you can check that out on, I'll retweet it on Twitter. I'll share it on our Facebook page, but we're proud to sponsor that match. Again, Jake Something, Minoru Suzuki at the pageant, Glory Pro Wrestling, Sunday, April 24th. Super cool. A super cool match. Even more cool, and we're honored to be able to sponsor that match. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Again, I'll retweet and share that after the podcast today. So
let's grade this. Night two.
Night two. I'll go first this time. So my match of the night is, it's not even close. AJ and AJ. I would
AJ and AJ.
Edge and AJ. I'm sorry. AJ was a one-person match. No, Edge and AJ gets the match of the night. I would actually say they get my match of the entire card.
Ooh, wow.
I'd give them the edge slightly over Rollins and Cody. Slightly.
Okay.
Slightly. It's like if you're twisting my arm kind of thing and making me pick one, that's what I would pick. But night two, gosh, man, I think I'm going C for night two. And I that might be being generous because that puts it as average. I'll stick with C. I'll stick with C because the Edge AJ match and then the Johnny and Sammy match kind of boosted up. The Pat and Austin Theory match, I thought they could have even given that match more time.
Right.
Austin coming back, I'd say C. I'll give it a C.
So I agree for night two. I'm Edge and AJ on match of the night. I'm going to go Seth and Cody on match of the overall pay-per-view.
Okay.
Because I did not like how the match ended with Edge and AJ. I didn't like Damian Priest standing there and kind of distracting AJ, which is why I think they'll have a better match at WrestleMania Backlash.
Okay.
I'm going to be a C+.
Okay.
I enjoyed the Pat McAfee Austin Theory match. I did not really care for what happened afterwards. The Johnny Knoxville Sami Zayn match was good. I was not mad at the Roman Brock match. I thought they were really building at first, and so I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass with the injury.
Okay.
And be just a little gracious of like, okay, listen, that obviously was not planned. How it ended was not planned, so I'm going to be a little gracious. I'll give them a C+.
Okay.
As far as that goes. As far as overall WrestleMania, though, I'm at an A+ for night one, and I'm at a C+ for night two, which I'm just going to meet in the middle. I'm going to say B+ for the entire event.
So what would that put me? A- and C. If you average them, what would that be? Just
probably at a B-, C+, somewhere in there. Right?
No. If you're averaging a C and an A-, I'll go a B.
It's probably
A solid B.
Okay.
For WrestleMania. So yeah, that is our WrestleMania recap. Moving right along, Stand and Deliver.
These will be quicker.
The rest
not as big as cards.
Yeah, the rest of these will be faster. Actually, to be fair, Supercard of Honor was pretty long, but that'll be quicker because I've not had a chance to watch all of it, and we're really just going to touch on some of the
highlights.
Yeah. And as far as our other notes segment, we might just bypass that because I know there are some other things that went on, like Impact Multiverse. Like I said, GCW had multiple shows.
Hold on one second. Oxen, yes, I'll get with you on that. I'd love to have you come with us and get some video and whatnot. That'd be dope.
We'll have to figure that out.
It's my buddy. So we'll talk.
We'll figure something out. So NXT Stand and Deliver. Pre-show, Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai defeat Toxic Attraction to win the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. A little under 8-minute match.
I thought surely Raquel was getting ready to get called up, so this is interesting.
I didn't actually have a chance to watch this match.
It was good. It was decent. Again,
one of those okay for what it was kind of
nostalgia
matches.
With the Dakota Kai, Raquel kind of reduo, coming together or whatever you want to call it, but reuniting. That's the word I was looking for.
Cameron Grimes finally gets his due, wins the NXT North American Championship. 5-way ladder match, 21 minutes, defeating Carmelo Hayes, Santos Escobar, Solo Sikoa, and Grayson Waller.
Two thoughts here. Great match. I thought this match was probably arguably one of the better matches of the night. But
yeah,
poor Grayson Waller. First off, When he goes up on the, we're going to talk about the ladder spot just real quick. When he goes up on the ladder, he knows the ladder's off because I saw him hesitate and go back down thinking about readjusting the ladder from the first place.
And he doesn't.
But he doesn't. So he climbs up to jump. He was supposed to take the ladder on his torso, and instead he goes arm first through that ladder. I have not seen a report or not. I don't think they've said he's broken anything or.
It looked bad though.
But it looked nasty. He did not hit that correctly. This is why it's developmental, y'all.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for willing to take those spots. He is all about the big moment. I love those kind of guys, but that was nasty.
It was bad.
But congrats to Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how they move forward with him as champion.
And I'm intrigued. I'm thinking Carmelo Hayes is about to be the next #1 contender for good old Braun Breaker now, because
it would make sense.
And that match is going to be phenomenal.
So the next match, Tony D'Angelo, who I think might get thrown into the North American title picture, defeats Tommaso Ciampa, a little over 13 minutes.
This was a good match, too.
It was a decent match. Again, it was Ciampa's send-off. And post-match, you only got to see this live if you have the non-ad version of Peacock. Otherwise, it went to advertisements.
Right.
But as Tommaso Ciampa is making his exit,
I loved this, by the way.
Triple H's music hits, comes out.
Gives him his flowers, basically.
Yeah.
Says, soak this in, gives him a hug, tells him he loves him.
Yeah.
It was such a cool moment, especially since Ciampa did the Triple H tribute
coming out
during the entrance.
He did HBK as well. I don't know if you caught the.
Yep.
So anyway, the next one surprised me. MSK wins the NXT Tag Team Championship, which
may not be very long.
It might not be a long reign. Defeats Imperium and the Creed brothers. I'll say this. If you participate in DraftKings or any other form of betting and you bet on MSK to win this match, you made yourself some money.
Because if you betted on anybody else, you probably were smart to do that, because I did not think MSK. Again, another team I thought they're about to get called up because they've already surpassed everything they can do in NXT, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and get the rumor out of the way. There are allegations made against Nash Carter right now that he is married, I believe, to Kimberly from TNA. I believe they're married. They're married, either married or engaged, I think. But he is with Kimberly from Impact, and she posted yesterday, I believe, at around 8 p.m.
They are married.
That she had a busted lip and some stuff. She says she's forgiven him and all this stuff, but this is what happens. He got drunk or whatever, hit her, and so there are allegations made against Nash Carter right now that he has hit his bride. Don't know if WWE is going to do anything because allegations are allegations. I am the kind of mindset of you're innocent until proven guilty. So interested to see what they do, but to get away from the publicity, they might
take the belts back off of him.
Put it right on the Creed brothers here Tuesday night. I don't know. We'll see.
Which would be tonight.
Well, that's true. I would be. I was actually shocked the Creed brothers did not get the win here.
I was as well. I would venture to say I would have more thought it was likely for Imperium to retain than MSK win the belts. Because I picked Creed brothers as well, but I was also kind of on the fence as far as, well, do the Creed brothers win or do they actually have Imperium retain here?
Mm-hmm.
And so I inevitably went with the Creed brothers. We were both wrong, but I thought there's no way MSK is going to win this match. And then the betting lines too, heavily were the opposite of MSK were huge underdogs in this match. So again, if you bet on them, you just got paid. Next match, Mandy Rose defeats Cora Jade, Kaylee Ray, and Io Shirai to retain the women's championship, 13.5 minutes. My biggest story is that the NXT women's belt has a new look to it.
I like it.
I do too. I really like it.
I liked it.
I think it was necessary to have it stand apart from the men's belt. I would have done a small change though. I would have went a light blue color, just because you already have the women's tag belts that are white.
Right. I'm wondering it's because they want them to be similar though, because they're all women's.
Possibly.
Belts.
I would have differentiated to do a light blue color as kind of a tribute to the old school WWF women's belt. because, again, the NXT women's tag belts are already white, and then the NXT UK women's belt's like a light pink, like a rosy color. So I don't know. That's just me being picky, but I still like it though nonetheless. Next match, Gunther defeats LA Knight, 10.5 minutes.
Good match.
Yeah. I mean, LA Knight is just, I feel like he's so slept on for whatever reason. Like, not a lot of people talk about him.
He's better than most of the roster on NXT. On the mic, in the ring, he has more of a classical ring style, which is why I don't really feel like he fits NXT. They need to call him up.
I agree.
ASAP.
That's the next thing I was going to say. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last time we actually see him on NXT, or if tonight would be the last time we see him on NXT. Because, I don't know. He deserves a spot on Raw or SmackDown.
Mic skills are better than most of the people on Raw and SmackDown even.
Yeah.
He's got great mic skills. The feuds would be endless of what he could have on Raw or SmackDown. And he's a good mid-card guy to bring up for right now.
Another guy could be immediately in the IC or US title picture.
Money in the Bank's around the corner. He'd be a great Money in the Bank kind of candidate as well. So
yeah. Let's see. Last match, Ziggler surprisingly retained over Braun Breaker.
We see why.
Of course. 16 minutes. This was easily Braun Breaker's best match so far to date. I've not seen the match from Raw. I mentioned to you that I've not watched much of Raw from last night, so I can't.
It was
judge.
good, but their NXT Stand and Deliver match was a better showing.
Okay. But yeah, easily Braun Breaker's best match to date. Obviously, we saw why Ziggler retained, because they saved the title change for the post WrestleMania Raw. But it was a shocking way to end the night. And even if they didn't have the match last night, I would actually dare to say that this was the right call.
Yeah.
Just for the shock factor. And you can easily put it on Braun Breaker anytime you wanted had they not had the match last night.
They had me convinced that Dolph was going to be on NXT a lot longer and that Braun was getting ready to get called up. So
I do also like the call of taking the belt off of him, because now that frees up Ziggler and Rude to be in the Raw tag title picture, which is something we were talking about. It's like, who do you throw in that title picture now? Because
you just had RK Bro beat the two teams that were top tier teams.
Yeah.
Other than Ray and Dominic, there really is no other tag teams available. Yeah. So
we press on. Supercard of Honor. Now, we're going to kind of breeze through a lot of this. We'll just kind of touch on the highlights. Cole's watched all of this. I've watched the majority, but we'll just kind of, again, we'll touch on the highlights. And
so overall, 0 Hour was good. They had like Colt Cabana on it, and they had some different matches that I thought were good.
Well, I'll just tackle the pre-show real quick. Colt Cabana defeated Blake Christian. AQA, who is part of AEW, defeated Miranda Elise. Am I saying that right? Elise,
I believe.
Gates of Agony, who is a part of Tully Blanchard Enterprises, which we'll get there. Tully Blanchard is now part of Ring of Honor, which I think is really cool, by the way. Defeated the Shinobi Shadow Squad, which is Cheeseburger and Eli Isom, yeah. And then Dalton Castle defeats Joe Hendry. That's the pre-show. Then we get to the main card. Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland defeats Alex Zane by pinfall, 11 minutes, little over 11 and a half minutes.
Good match. I really enjoyed that match.
The next match, super cool. If you say that you saw this coming, I'd say that you're full of crap, but that's just my opinion. Brian Cage debuts for Ring of Honor, also managed by Tully Blanchard. TBE, Tully Blanchard Enterprises, as of now consists of Brian Cage and this Gates of Agony tag team. Brian Cage pretty much defeats Ninja Mac, pretty much in a squash match, about 2.5 minutes.
This was a mystery opponent, first off.
Yeah, mystery opponent.
Mystery signing by Tully. And if y'all watched our interview with Brian Cage, he said, hey, there are plans coming. I can't say much, but there is a plan. I love this.
I do too.
I love this.
I'm glad. I hope he stays in Ring of Honor. I hope he stays separate from AEW, because I know that there's going to be some
talent
guys jumping back and forth. I hope he just stays in Ring of Honor. He's the kind of guy that could be your Ring of Honor champion for a long time.
A dominant force on ROH. Obviously, I think you'll see him some on AEW and whatnot, but I think I agree with you. More of a major role, especially once they get ROH on weekly television.
Next match was a great match. Jay Lethal defeats Lee Moriarty, a little under 15 minutes. I wasn't even ready for it to end at that point.
Jay Lethal heel turn as well during this match, but
during the match and solidified later, Mercedes Martinez becomes the interim Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, defeating Willow Nightingale. About 12 and a half, 13 minutes. I don't know why they didn't have Deonna on this card. She was obviously in Dallas.
Right, but I'm wondering if they're trying to save that match for a bigger match after Supercard of Honor.
I'll elaborate. I wonder if there is something that her and Tony Khan or the new ownership, whatever, couldn't agree on something.
Or before he bought it, she had already said, I'm not doing it, and it was too late to plan anything else.
Next match might have been match of not only this card, maybe match of the weekend. FTR defeats the Briscoe brothers, becoming the new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. About 27 and a half minutes. I mean, this was tag team wrestling to a T.
You know my disdain for FTR, but it was really a great match. The only thing, I told you this, the only thing that bothered me about this match was the actual results. I was shocked that they took the belts off the Briscoes when you're trying to build ROH up to be this big thing. Now, we need to talk about this. Every title has a new belt holder, basically, in a sense, in all the titles. The interim,
besides one,
kind of, because Bandito was the champion already, and Jonathan Gresham won the original ROH, so they had to solidify who the main champion was going to be there
that's
too.
True.
So interim champion with.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Did this and the? I'm asking because I legit don't know. Did Supercard of Honor and then like the Multiverse, whatever Impact, did they go at the same time?
They couldn't know because Blake Christian was on both.
Yeah. Well, okay. Jeffrey Capo says Deonna was committed to Impact.
I think they were either the same day but at different time slots, or I want to say Multiverse was actually Supercard was Friday night.
So yeah, the Multiverse was Saturday, wasn't it?
I think it was Saturday, or I have them all backwards.
Maybe she committed to something Impact related, like a media.
She might have been at WrestleCon as well, doing some things. A lot of them were doing signings and stuff. I don't exactly know.
Nonetheless,
but either way, you had the interim champion for the women's belt. The tag belts changed. I thought surely you want the Briscoes to hold the ROH belts going into this rebuild and big build of ROH. Every belt changed hand or was solidified with a new person representing. So that was the only thing I thought. Obviously, the Young Bucks coming out afterwards.
Which I'm intrigued to see how they go about. Okay, I'll throw my prediction out there. I'm sorry in advance if it ends up being a spoiler, but it's just a prediction at this point. I think we see the Briscoes for the first time on AEW tomorrow night. I think they cost the Bucks the match, and then it sets up something for the Bucks and Briscoes to do something.
Is there any chance that they're setting up for a triple threat match between these three?
I mean, possibly.
Long-term storytelling, maybe not right away, but at the next AEW pay-per-view or the next ROH pay-per-view of doing like a three-way for the ROH belts or for AEW belts or, whatever.
Ring of Honor does like their triple threat tag matches. If you go back and check a lot of Ring of Honor's events and pay-per-views, they love to have those triple threat tag matches. They even more so love to have the triple threat triple threat tag ladder matches.
Let me address this question real quick. When we say called up,
okay.
It means that they are on a brand or something that is like the developmental or the early stages. They're still being trained. There's a bigger market or a bigger part of the company that they could be a part of. So like NXT is WWE's developmental brand.
Yeah.
So on that card, they're still learning the ropes and they're still kind of developing characters. For them to really be in the big leagues, they would get called up to Raw or SmackDown to be a part of those major brands that they put a lot more focus on. AEW is sounds like they're about to do the same thing with ROH. With their company. I don't know if that's true or not, but they also have Elevation and Dark that they do on YouTube. So that's what we mean when we say called up. But either way, let's continue. FTR match of the weekend. Great match.
100%. Let's see. Minoru Suzuki. I was shocked by this. Minoru Suzuki wins the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, defeating Rhett Titus. This match only went 6 minutes.
Not to mention, and I don't want to spoil another match as far as results go, but this whole faction that has been the kind of the highlight of ROH over the past, couple years, the Foundation,
yeah,
they all dropped outside of one person. They all dropped their belts. He had just won it at the last pay-per-view. I could not believe that they had him drop here. And I was shocked because I don't know how long Suzuki's in the States for.
He'll be here for at least another
month.
At least another month. Again, if you didn't catch this earlier, we are sponsoring his match with Jake Something at Glory Pro Wrestling at the pageant later this month. Super proud, super honored to be able to do that. So stay tuned. We'll have some more updates, and we'll share and retweet all that info. Next match, Wheeler Yuta defeats Josh Woods for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, just under 13 minutes.
This was probably the biggest shock of the night for me.
Agreed.
Nothing against Wheeler Yuta. And I thought they teased William Regal being there. I don't remember ever seeing him. There was a tease all night long that William Regal would be in attendance watching the match and all this stuff.
If he was, I missed it.
Scouting Wheeler Yuta. I never saw him. Josh Woods is a boss. Yeah, again, part of the Foundation. I could not believe that they had him drop to Wheeler Yuta. Nothing against Wheeler Yuta. But I thought Josh Woods is a guy you really could build around. So now I'm starting to question, do you have a contract with ROH? Are you going to get moved to AEW and be more of a prominent role in AEW?
Yeah.
I have questions on that one.
Well, and it could have been a thank you from AEW because Wheeler Yuta has been with them for all this time. He just got the All Elite graphic after winning the championship. It could have been one of those things where they're just like, hey, this is our way of saying thank you to you for pretty much working on whatever handshake, per date deal that they had up to this point.
Right.
So I don't know. Last match, Jonathan Gresham defeats Bandito to become the undisputed Ring of Honor World Champion. About a 25-minute match. I liked the match, but I felt it was slow at times.
Yeah, I almost felt like they didn't have time to really go over this, so it felt like a match that was being called a lot or being prolonged a lot by filler type stuff.
But the big story coming out of this is post-match, Jay Lethal comes out, says he wants a shot at the Ring of Honor World Championship. Him and Gresham get into a scuffle, and then what's his face? Sanjay Dutt. That's right. Sanjay comes out, teases that he's just trying to break him up, but then he and Jay Lethal attack Gresham. And then the music hits, and then we get
Samoa Joe. Which he'll be on AEW this Wednesday.
He'll be on AEW tomorrow. I'm really intrigued to watch AEW tomorrow night. I know the big story coming out of the weekend is, WrestleMania, particularly night one, and the Cody situation.
AEW is answering back, though. I will get
100%.
Knowing Cody was going to debut at WrestleMania, having Samoa Joe come out right before it is not a bad way to try to keep intrigue.
No, it was a great move. So I'm definitely intrigued to see not only AEW tomorrow, but how Ring of Honor looks moving forward. That was the goal of the new management coming out of Supercard of Honor, is to get eyes on Ring of Honor, to give people that intrigue to keep watching, and they succeeded. Yep. So that was Supercard of Honor. I had other notes on here. Did you want to mention anything specific? I know you watched some of the Impact Multiverse.
I did like I wanted to mention the X Division match on Multiverse. I thought the X Division match was good. I still need to go back and watch a couple matches because they did intrigue me, but so much wrestling this weekend. And every time I went to sit down and watch some of these matches, I was just so tired. I was starting to fall asleep. And it was not on them. The matches weren't boring. It was just I was so drained.
Yeah.
On the wrestling. So I did want to go back and watch some of that, so I thought that was good. Loved the Hall of Fame. I enjoyed WWE's Hall of Fame ceremony. Undertaker, obviously I'm representing Taker today. His speech was phenomenal, and the Phenom, phenomenal.
Now I got it.
I really, really enjoyed that as well. And so, guys, a lot of wrestling this weekend. If you get a chance and have accessible ways to do it, if you miss something, chances are it was one of their better cards that they put on for each and every one of these things. Take time, go back and watch it. Support all of these companies as they all put on some really great stuff. I'm excited for Glory Pro to upload their stuff so I can go and see what happened at their event in Dallas. So, yeah, a lot of great.
I think you can go back and watch it on Fight if you want.
Yeah, I need to. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's so much I need to go catch up on. So,
and friend of the show, Davey Richards, who we had on during our 12-hour stream a few weeks ago, he's actually going for the Crown of Glory, which is their world championship, at the pageant against Mike Outlaw, is it?
Yeah.
So that'll be a great match. Glory Pro's really good about bringing in talent that is well known. I mean,
especially St. Louis, people that really love St. Louis. Like, the heart that's at Glory Pro is so awesome because everyone cares about St. Louis specifically.
I mean,
it's something different about St. Louis.
There's been a lot of guys that have come through. I mean, Cody's been through here. Penta's been through here.
Colt Cabana even talked about how much St. Louis means to him, and Davey Richards is very passionate about St. Louis. He's really from here, but this is home now for him, and he kind of talked about that at the last show. And I 100%. Love it, the passion for this area.
But Danhausen, Jake something, obviously he's been on Impact.
Rohit, I always butcher the last name. Rohit Rajat.
Yeah.
He's at every Glory Pro show.
He's former X Division champion. I'm trying to think who else.
Kylie Ray.
Yeah, Kylie Ray. Josh Alexander. He's been here recently. I'm drawing a blank
Nick
now.
Aldis. Nick Aldis even talked about how much he loves St. Louis on our show when he was on, and how important St. Louis is to him.
Eddie Kingston. I mean, he was their former champion at one point. Yep. So a lot of current well-known guys have either been through. Well, I've been through some of them recently. I mean, obviously, Minoru Suzuki is going to be here for the next show. So all that to say, if you're anywhere near the St. Louis area, highly encourage you to check out the Glory Pro show at the end of the month. I think April 24th. It's a Sunday.
They put on one of the best cards always.
Yeah, and this is going to be the biggest St. Louis independent wrestling event ever,
and not the last.
Yeah, agreed. Who you got for Wrestler of the Week? I'm intrigued.
My goodness.
I'm intrigued to hear your answer.
This is probably the hardest Wrestler of the Week I've ever had to choose. I'm going to be real with you. Because they're outside of, and some of the wrestling that I didn't even got to see, there might have been a better answer. I'm only doing this because I don't think I'll ever get a chance to do this ever again. My Wrestler of the Week goes to Stone Cold Steve Austin. He may not have had the best wrestling match, but that moment will live in my head forever of...
I mean, the bumps alone are worthy of getting it.
Obviously, if the Stone Cold match hadn't happened and was just a KO show, my runner-up would go to probably Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
I thought Cody had the better showing out of Edge and AJ Styles and Cody and Seth. But you could have argued FTR. You could have argued... I don't know. There's so many. I'm like literally trying to... I want to name them all. There were so many good ones. I'm interested to see where you land, though.
So oddly enough, even though it wasn't my match of the entire card, I am actually going Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
just for
big
the
moment.
Yeah, I mean, just for the big moment, that he lived up to the big moment and exceeded it, in my opinion. I expected maybe just a small botch here or there. Especially since, the match was not rehearsed at a time or even talked about.
We didn't even mention the Three Amigos style of the Crossroads.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, that was crazy. Where are we at? Oh, Lord Alfred Hayes time.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Before we get to too much information, just want to remind you guys that you can check out the Going Broadway podcast. We're live every single, normally Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. The last couple of weeks, we did a Wednesday show last week. We're on Tuesday this week. There will not be a Thursday show this week, but we will resume our normal Thursday shows next week. So the date on that is going to be the 14th. So starting next week, back to our normal Thursday times, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also check out our Twitter page as well. Please like, follow, share, subscribe all across the board. We've not done this recently, but at some point, there might just be another big giveaway. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitch, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications button all across the board so you're notified when we go live each and every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central.
It'll be the biggest, the most stupendous giveaway. I know you hate that, so I had to do it.
I think it's silly. Our shop is live. You can check out GoingBroadwayPodcast.com, which you can check out all of our archived shows on that site as well. Check out our shop. It's got our current Saturday Night's Main Event tribute shirts. They do come in the red, white, and blue scheme, as well as our GBP colors of green, black, and white / gray. They are $19.99 plus taxes and shipping for a t-shirt, $39.99 plus taxes and shipping for a hoodie. So you can check that out at your leisure. Some cool things happening. We mentioned the Glory Pro show Sunday, April 24th. We got tagged in Glory Pro's posts on Facebook and Twitter, so you can check out their pages, Glory Pro Wrestling. I'll share and retweet those after the show. But we are proud and honored to sponsor the Minoru Suzuki Jake Something match. Wink, wink. We might be sponsoring more matches for that card. But again, they're live.
We might just be in one.
Double wink, wink. Yeah, stay tuned for that. Glory Pro Wrestling, Sunday, April 24th. It's not really downtown St. Louis, I guess, but it's in the heart of St. Louis at the pageant. Biggest St. Louis independent wrestling show ever. And I don't say that to embellish. I mean, it legit will be the biggest, in terms of crowd, biggest independent wrestling show in St. Louis ever. I'm not counting, the wrestling at the Chase that they recently did, because NWA isn't exactly independent wrestling, but nonetheless. But I expect 3,000 or 4,000 people there, possibly more. I don't know how much the capacity at the pageant, but we'll see. But we will be having a pre-show. We'll be live on site for that. Times to be determined, and we might announce that next week on our Thursday show next week. As far as later this month, as well as into May, we have some cool special guests coming. So we've got back-to-back guests beginning on Thursday, April 28th. We have AEW's Alan Angels.
Mini Cross.
Yeah. I still can't unsee that. He does look like a smaller version of Killer Cross. But no, it's going to be a cool conversation. Second member of the Dark Order that we've had on the podcast with us. Thursday, April 28th, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Looked like you were about ready to say something. No? Well, moving right along then. So the week after that, we have current NWA Women's Champion Camille joining us Thursday, May 5th. Again, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Excited for that interview. I'm going to skip ahead a couple weeks. No, actually, I'll go in order as to not confuse you guys. So I'm going to play a quick video, and we'll be right back. That's going to be a super exciting interview. We have Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon, joining us Thursday, May 12th, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central as well. A lot of questions. And it's going to be a fun interview. That's all.
I'm pumped.
I'm going to leave it at that. And then the week after that, Thursday, May 19th, we have got the one and only Buff Bagwell joining us, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central as well. So, again, back to back interviews coming your way at the end of April and into mid-May as well. So, but again, beginning next week, we'll be back to our normal Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central time slot. And looking forward to getting back on a normal schedule, if you will. All right.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the questions.
It is time for fan mail.
Oh, look at you.
Look at you. So get your questions in if you haven't already. I'm gonna check to see if we had any submitted ahead of time. I think we might have had one or two.
It's been a minute.
But guys, if you have any questions, send them in. We'll take them live. Let's see. David Tilley asks, what do you think of AEW not signing the Briscoes? Well, we don't know that they have or haven't, to be quite honest.
And technically, if they're going to be ROH, they are signed by default.
Yeah.
So,
didn't you answer his called up question? He asked it again. Or is that the same one?
What does it take for someone to get called up? I see. It's a little bit different. So,
okay.
Where the big time when we talk about called up is usually in WWE because of NXT. It's their developmental brand. Especially more recently, they've really shifted to training up their own stars, their own new people that they're working on. So really, it's about making sure that they're, one, in-ring ready, that they're able to actually produce good matches. But it goes deeper into the character building. Can you cut a promo? Can you do vignettes? Are you able to? Are fans going to connect with your character? Are they going to connect with you? Relationships obviously play a huge role in that as well. Who do you know backstage? Who sees potential in you? For instance, Alex and I don't see anything in Omos, but when you get an endorsement by The Undertaker, chances are you're going to get to stay around a little bit longer. So, but it's a process of showing what you can do in the ring, showing that you've honed and sharpened your craft, and also being able to prove that you're able to connect with the fans in a way that they're going to want to come see you on a main card or on a pay-per-view type setting.
100%. Just 1 second, guys. Caught me in the middle of, I'm trying to retweet this. It's pageant graphic. There we go. Okay, so check out our Twitter now if you want to get more information about that match and the card specifically.
Jay Stoney.
Go for it. You take a question.
Do you think Brock is done for a while? I don't know. Friday we'll answer some questions. I know someone earlier in the chat, I don't remember exactly who said it, but they think Drew McIntyre is next step for Roman. I do think we're going to get that at some point this year, but that to me feels like it needs to be like a SummerSlam match. Like save that bigger match for like a bigger card. We still have WrestleMania Backlash to get through, and then we have Money in the Bank, which would be June. SummerSlam's not until August, right?
SummerSlam is in August.
So we still have about 3 more pay-per-views to get through before I would say it's time for Drew.
I'm sorry. It is July 30th.
Oh, so really 2 then. We just got to get through WrestleMania Backlash and Money in the Bank. So I think they're going to save Drew for 2 more pay-per-views. So
that's interesting, though. Isn't SummerSlam usually in August?
I thought it was. I mean, it's July 30th, so it's going right into August.
No, I know. But it's kind of like my mindset of any time WrestleMania falls on like March 30th or something.
Right. It's definitely intriguing. So, WrestleMania Backlash is usually all like rematches or like variations of a rematch. I'm almost curious though if Roman will be left off the WrestleMania Backlash card. if his injury is a little bit more serious, because that's only like 2 or 3 weeks away at this point. I don't. Maybe it would help to know the actual date on WrestleMania Backlash, but I know they already started promoting it last night, so we're probably 3 weeks out, I would assume, on it. Friday will answer. I'm gonna say he's probably not done for a while. I'm thinking he might have one more match in him at Mania or at WrestleMania Backlash for this run. But maybe it's they'll try to recreate how they wanted the match to go at Mania without the injury. I don't know. I really don't know.
TBD.
What else we got here?
What does it take to sponsor a wrestler / match? So basically, we formed a relationship with Glory Pro Wrestling, which is super cool. I mean, it was just one of those things. It was like a perfect match in terms of just getting in touch with them. And basically what we do is, I won't disclose financials, but basically it's one of those things where they get an undisclosed amount of money, and then we get the promotional graphics across social media. They mention our podcast before the match, live for the crowd, which also means it's when it airs on High Spots or Fight TV. Our podcast name is also out there for people that watch or listen to it. And there might be some more things in the works, which I know Cole alluded to. Was it last week or the week before? Maybe
it was with Kylie.
Okay, so it would have been
2 weeks ago.
It would have been would have been 2 weeks ago. But let's just say at least Cole might be getting more involved, and we'll just leave it at that. So, but
I'm destined to go through a table at some point.
Which means I'm gonna have to be like the Brandon Cutler type guy and get all this on camera while you're
like zoom in on my face, have a Pat McAfee moment,
right? I think that pretty much answers the question. But yeah, we get mentioned before the match live, so that also means it's on Fight TV or High Spots, whatever outlet they air on. We get to they allow us to do they basically allow us to come and do a pre-show before the live event. It also means that we pretty much don't have to pay for tickets or admission or whatever. They just pretty much comp the entry or whatever. So which is cool.
Let's do these last two. I'm gonna answer David's real quick because it's on the same topic here.
Okay.
Yes, we actually have people come to us. We approached Colt Cabana, obviously, but interestingly enough, Mike Outlaw actually approached us at the last show, and came up to us and introduced himself, and we've had slight talks with him about bringing him on. I think we were wanting to make sure that we had some normal shows for you guys this month, so we haven't worked out a date with him just yet. But he did approach us, and he is not the only one. There are other names that you guys may not know, some of these guys, but we have talked about the idea and potential of us screening some guys, but picking some indie guys that you may not know about and doing like a Zoom room type thing where we bring on like 4 or 5 indie guys all at once and do like little 10-minute spots with each of them and just talk about indie wrestling with them as a whole, kind of like a panel type thing. So those are kind of in the works, but we have been approached by some of them. And then also we'll touch on Jay Stoney's question, and then we'll move to our last segment of the day.
Yeah, we're gonna have to breeze through that. I didn't realize it was so close to 11 already.
Jay Stoney asked, since he unified the titles, both titles could be up technically. Could someone else from Raw start chasing Roman besides Drew? And then someone also kind of alluded to David Tilley. At this chance, are there any faces that stand a chance against Roman? I'll give my thoughts. Technically, yes. I think if you're going to have a unified champion, kind of like when they did with Becky, 2 belts and, all this stuff, I think you're going to have someone from each show chasing Roman. As far as who that person's going to be, I'm not really sure at the moment. I think they'll get through WrestleMania Backlash and then start deciding what they're going to do there. as far as like how I see this playing out, I really think the Money in the Bank winner is going to be the person that dethrones Roman. Because they didn't do any tease with The Rock here at the end of WrestleMania, I just don't see it happening with the belt at WrestleMania next year. I find it hard to believe that they're going to let Roman hold the belt a whole nother year. I really do.
That'd be crazy. You know what, guys? I'm gonna call it audible. Let's save this till next week, the conclusion of our draft boards, because I don't want to rush through it. I mean, we both got 10 tag teams to choose from. It'd be different if we had like 5 each. That'd be a lot quicker. But really, we would need to have like a hard stop at 11 anyway, and 7 minutes is not enough time to get through this. So we're gonna conclude today's proceedings, today's events, if you will. We will do the draft board next week. We'll conclude that next Thursday. And don't get me wrong, guys, I was really looking forward to doing it. It's just there's just too much.
This is probably not the week.
Yeah. Agree, guys. To echo Jeremy's comment, support independent wrestling. If you see any indie shows, especially if it's not a ton of money, go check it out. Even if it's going to be like 300, 400, or 500 people, still go check it out anyway.
They're a lot of fun.
They're super fun to go to. But no, support your local independent wrestling promotions.
Tease your first pick.
Tease my first pick. Okay, I'll tell you what. We can do one pick each, and then we'll finish next week. Let's appease Mr. Tilly here.
Oh,
and you know what? I'll even let you go first. I won't even do the coaster flip. We'll do one pick each,
and then so generous to me here recently.
And then we'll conclude next week.
All right, let me look at my list. Where is it? Oh, there it is. All right, I'm getting first dibs here.
Go for it.
Oh, this is tough.
This is why we didn't do the entire segment, because it's taken forever for just one
pick. I have
pick.
so many names I could pick from.
Okay, I'm going to, just to make it official, I'm going back to our draft board segment briefly.
Okay, I'm going to do it because I want to keep them together. Give me Red Dragon.
Nice. Okay. That is not what I thought you'd pick. Not what I thought you'd pick.
I'm trying to think of how they spell it.
So lowercase r, lowercase e,
Too late.
Uppercase D, uppercase R, everything else lowercase.
I already started with an uppercase R.
And I'm going with the current Ring of Honor and current AAA Tag Team Champions, FTR.
Oh, okay. Not who I thought you were going to go for. They were really low on my list, so I'm not too bummed about that.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I'm just like, is it really necessary to have him go first? Because I had a thought in my mind that you would take them just out of spite.
Nope. I'm not drafting them out of spite. That's where the spite comes in.
Okay, one last question. Bruce says, do you think they should add another belt to the women's division in WWE? No, I do not. Because if they did one, they'd have to add two. Pretty much he's asking if we would add a mid-card women's title.
They don't use the women they have currently correctly anyways. They have like four for the main belt on each show. They only have like 3 women at a time that could technically be contenders for the belt on each show. Like right now, name me outside of Becky, name me someone for Bianca Belair right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Not really anybody. I mean, you could argue Asuka or Bayley.
They're not there yet. So
I know, I'm saying, but besides that, nobody.
That Liv Morgan's still in the tag thing right now. Doudrop is what? Nikki ASH what? Like, I don't mean to do Stone Cold references here, but I'm just like, there's nobody on Raw. SmackDown with Charlotte Flair. Outside of Ronda Rousey, give me 3 names that could be in the title picture currently without ruining a storyline that they've already created. Right. What? There's nobody. There's nobody that's there. You can't do that unless... Now, I would be for mid-card women belts if they didn't have the tag belts, because there would be way more women around to do something.
To be honest, I'd actually rather have that than the women's tag belts, just because the women's tag belts are really still only defended on...
solely more SmackDown than Raw, which they're supposed to be cross-branded, I guess. But, yeah, I would be more okay and more women to go around as far as storylines. So
agreed. about time. About that time. Excuse me. Let me rewind. It's about that time. Cole, any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We do sincerely appreciate it. Don't forget to go check out our Going Broadway Podcast merch. You're going to want to wear that. It's comfortable, it's fashionable, and you will love it as soon as it gets to you. So make sure you go to the Going Broadway Podcast website and get you your merch. Don't forget about our upcoming guest. Yes, most of April, we will be doing our normal Alex Cole Bebe setup.
We'll be doing our thing.
But at the end of the month, we'll start with some new guests, so you're not going to want to miss those. All of those are going to be fun, entertaining. We've not had a bad guest yet, so
I'm not going to go there.
as far as on the show in front of you, we've not had a bad guest yet.
My reaction will get people talking, which is that's what I'm going for.
Anywho, they're all entertaining. They're all fun and they're different in different ways. So make sure you join us for all of those. Guys, thank you so much for going through all the recaps with us. I know it's a lot of wrestling to recap. Again, I encourage you, if you didn't get a chance, go back and watch all of the content that was put out this weekend because there was a ton of it, and it's all going to be great, I'm sure. So make sure you check all that out. But until next time, on our regular schedule Thursdays going forward, I leave you with your favorite thing in the entire world.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next Thursday, the 14th, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Peace!
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.